up in the Branyo, which was like a castle compared to where I lived, you know. These were huge rooms with carpets and settees and, you know. But also it had a small kit of drums and 3 amplifiers. And it was probably, the amplifiers were like cream and turquoise blue colour and all these beautiful colours. So they started playing and I was just speechless basically. They were doing the Shadows instrumentals in front of me. And I'm like, I gotta become part of this, I gotta get into this. That's all I thought about. So they took a break and the woman of the house came in with tea and biscuits and so on. So I went over to the guitar player. I says, can I try your guitar? No. Just for a minute. No, sorry. So I said, okay then. So sat down with the tea and biscuits. And then they started rehearsing again. And I was just speechless about the whole thing. I couldn't believe it. It affected me so much. So at the end of the night, they're packing their gear away. And I said to the guitar player, can I please try your guitar through the amp just for 1 minute? Okay. So he gives me the guitar and he plugs me into the amp and I'm like, you know, it was like better than sex.
Oh yeah?
And so I started playing. So next minute these guys come over and they start looking at me. And they're going, and that was it, you know. So everybody went home. Next day I'm at school. And Rodney comes up to me and he says, listen, we want you as our guitar player. I said, what? He says, we want you as our guitar. I said, what about Morrow, whatever his name was? Oh, we think you're better than him. and he wants to become the manager. So I said, I couldn't believe it, man. I just couldn't believe that they picked me because I didn't do that much really, you know. But anyway, there you go. And I got into that group. And that's how the whole thing started.
And did you actually go and do gigs with that wee band or whatever?
We did our first gig, and I was never going to play the guitar again after it because what happened was I had a guitar called a Rapier 22, which was beautiful little guitar. They really were. The only fault I found was the bridge where the strings go over. It had a little tremolo arm. But what I didn't know was, as you worked the tremolo arm, the bridge would slowly cut through the string. Because you were doing this with a tremolo arm, and the top of the bridge was steel, and it was in a V shape. So the string would sit over it, and meanwhile it's being sawn through by this tremolo. So I'm standing on stage, and this was on a Sunday afternoon at a tennis club. They had youth clubs in those days. So it was about 30 people there, all kids. So we went out to do our first song. And the second song, my string goes, darn. And I'm like, oh. Believe it or not, the second string went darn. So I had 4 strings on the guitar and it was completely out of tune. And I got stage fright and I went, that's it. I took out my lead and I walked out into the kitchen. And the guys said, okay, we're going to take a break now anyway. Can you put new strings on? I said, I'm not playing anymore. What do you mean? No, I've had enough. I can't handle it. I'm not playing anymore. I don't know whether I did or not, but it took me a long time to get over that, you know. And then you hear a word through the grapevine that somebody's looking for a guitar player or somebody's looking for a bass player. So a few guys called up to my house and they said, I was in these crummy jobs. I had these jobs. I couldn't take the 9 to 5. It just was not part of my makeup. The first job I had was a motor mechanic. which I love cars. I really love cars, and I love working on them. And I was there for a year, and it was great. And then the guy that I was on with, I was his apprentice. He wrecked the boss's car on the ramp one day and completely smashed the boss's car. So I went in next week to start my job again, and I said, the guy was called Tommy, and I said to the foreman, excuse me, where's Tommy? Tommy? Tommy's away bloody home, he's been fired. Wrecking the boss's car. And I went, what? He said, you're on with that man there now. And he pointed to this other bloke, and I went over to that guy, and this guy wouldn't let me do anything. I had to clean oil sumps, I had to change wheels diagonally, and that was my lot. Probably buff up some sparking plugs. That was it. The other guy who I was on with had helped, had allowed me to work on engines with him, which was really interesting. But this guy had me as an apprentice, and he wasn't letting me do anything, you know. So I lost interest. And what happened, the day that happened was I was inside the car, and I was working on the window panel. In those days you could take off the window panel and put grease on the mechanism and all this type of stuff. So that's what I was doing, but I had the radio on in the car as I was working. And the next minute, this track comes on, and it just blows me completely sideways. So I stopped working and I listened to the entire track. And the guy says, yes, that was the Rolling Stones' first album with a number called Route 66, and it was perfect to me. Everything about that record was perfect. The way the drums come in, you know. And I said, right, that's what I want to do. So I knew there and then I wanted to be a professional guitar player, you know. But easier said than done.
After the skiffle thing happened, was there a bit of a scene around the East where lots of people started picking up instruments and setting up bands and starting to play?
Absolutely. The thing you're talking about skiffle was, though, that was before the Shadows. If you wanted to play the Shadows, you'd have to have an electric guitar, an electric amplifier, probably an echo chamber, a kit of drums, electric bass, whereas skiffle, you didn't need that. Skiffle, you need your mom's washboard with thimbles, a big box with a broom handle in it and a piece of rope. That was the double bass. And 2 acoustic guitars. And that was it. That was skiffle. So what that meant was that nearly anybody in the world could play skiffle, because you didn't need equipment. You just needed 2 acoustic guitars, slightly out of tune, and this big box, cardboard, what it used to call them? Tea-chests, of course, tea-chests with a broom handle and a piece of string, and that was your double bass. So you had thousands upon thousands of skiffle groups all over Britain. And you can see this fabulous photograph of John Lennon on the top of a lorry, and he's got the check shirt on, and he's singing, and all that. You don't know who the rest of them are, but that's John Lennon, and he was into skiffle in a big way as well. Paul McCartney was into skiffle. All these bands, all these people were into skiffle, you know.
And once you wanted to amp up then, I mean, was there anywhere locally? Was there a guitar shop you could go and look at guitars? Or where did you go?
There was 2 guitar shops in Belfast that I knew of, was Matchett's and Crimble's, right? And Crimble's was where I met Van Morrison. It was just, there was that type of vibe in Belfast then. There was, we were caught up in this change that happened in the 60s. Remember me and Billy? We'd be walking through the city centre, past the City Hall on a Saturday afternoon. And I looked round to see this guy, and his hair was down to the hair. Remember? And I thought, my God, I never saw this before in my life. A guy with hair down to here. Everybody had crew cuts and the hair combed back with Brill cream and all the rest of it. But this guy, he's hair down to here. And then we went into the city centre a week later, and I saw about another 4 guys with their hair really long. So there was something happening. There was definitely something going on. And then we saw guys wearing these particular clothes, like bell-bottom jeans, I never saw before in my life. Blue denim shirts, black knitted ties. It was like a sort of a uniform. And these were mods, they were called, you know. And the old women stopping in the street going, "Is that a girl or something?" You know? So we used to take pride in walking about like this, so our hair would look longer as you did this. And it was great because we used to, on purpose, we used to sit downstairs in the bus because that's where the old women were. So we'd sit downstairs in the bus and we'd be doing this, and you'd hear the woman going, "I think that's a girl." "No, I think it's a boy. But look at his hair," you know. So there was a big change happening in society. And that's, I don't know how I got on that.
Well, I was asking you about just the change whenever people started to get some real guitars. First of all, they were expensive, so you had to save
They
up
were
for a
very
long time
expensive.
to get them. I was thinking about records as well. I mean, where did you go to buy your records? Once you'd heard them on the radio and you
That's
wanted
true.
it, where did you go to get them?
Yeah, there was a few, especially Smithfield. The Smithfield market, like obviously before the Troubles, was absolutely incredible place. I remember going there every Saturday afternoon, and it was like just magic. And I had this enormous big glass dome over everything, and it was like having streets inside this glass dome, and they sold everything, you know. You could buy German helmets and God knows what, false limbs, books, everything you could think of. Records was there as well. There were 1 or 2 record shops, but there was one thing in particular which was a life-changing experience for me. Was I was walking around Smithfield this day, and I walked through it, and I came out the other end, and there's a tiny little record shop, like really small, but it says Till, and this old woman owned it. And I'm walking past her one day, and she had speakers outside in the street, so whatever record was playing in the shop, you could hear it out in the street. And I'm walking past, and I just froze. And I went, I'm not hearing this, you know. I never heard anything like it in my life. It was Django Reinhardt.
Oh.
And I went, my God almighty, who is this? And I walked into the shop, and there's this old woman sitting on this high-rise sort of chair. She says, "Hello." I said, "Who's that playing?" "Oh, that's Django Reinhardt." And she took one of the covers from the rack. "There he is there. The only 2 fingers." And I went, "What?" So this mystery became deeper and deeper. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This guy's playing was just off the planet completely. And I went, I'll have that one. So I bought these 2 albums on the Ace of Clubs label, which I still have and which I still listen to. And he just blew me away completely. So anyway, yeah, you could get records. Yeah.
Was there a record shop on the road that you could get records on?
Not that I knew of.
Do you remember?
At that time, there
And what about, were there any really local gigs? Was there anywhere where you could go and play really locally?
local gigs. I'm not sure of. I just remember one night walking down. I think you were there, Billy. It was about 10 o'clock at night. We were walking home. I used to take a shortcut through these entries. And we're walking through this entry, and I see these 2 double doors like a garage, and music coming from inside. So I walked over, and there was a little gap in the door, and I looked through, and it was a box AC30 on a chair. I thought, I was like, what?
That's a box size seat, 30 for fuck's sake.
I mean, to see one, you see them in pictures and so on, TV maybe, but to actually see one a few yards away from you, and it looked exactly the way you thought it was supposed to look, So all those things were going on.
And whenever you did actually start doing gigs, can you remember any of the venues you very first played in around the city or whatever?
A lot of them were youth clubs.
Right.
Really were youth clubs. There was a lot of those about. And
what sort of reaction did you get when you came and plugged in and played to the youth club?
There's a few people would come up to you at the end of the night and say, "Very good lads, keep it going. You'll have the Beatles worried shortly," all this type of stuff,
Little did they know.
Yeah, well, as I said, I had about 14 jobs. And day jobs. I couldn't take day jobs. It was like alien, as if from a different planet. And some of the jobs I had, the Belfast Rope Works, it was like, I swear to God, it was like walking into a Charles Dickens film set. Everything in black and white, and ropes everywhere, and just the atmosphere of that place was just unbelievable. And they had this room, which was a quarter of a mile long. That's serious. And I was on this little train. It would take me all night to explain this, but anyway, this rope went down a quarter of a mile long, and then it was fixed with another 4 or 5 ropes. It all got tangled up together. And these would be for boats and ships and so on. So I worked there for a while, but it was bizarre. I worked in a pickle factory, shirt factory,
Lamplighter.
Yeah, I was one of the last lamplighters in Belfast. I hope I'm not boring you with all this, but I went to the Dole one day to get a new job. And my mates used to say, if you're going to the Dole, ask them, have you any plumbers, helpers jobs, because they're really easy. Plumber's helper does bugger all. So I went up to the desk and the guy's going, next. Right, what do you do? Well, I was a motor mechanic. What are you doing now? General labourer, right? So there's done all that. There was 1,000 jobs in those days that you could get. There was hundreds of jobs available. So he picks me this one up. I said, could I have a plumber's helper if you have it? And he hands me the card. He says, now you must go along to this address. You have to show up or we're going to stop your money for 6 weeks. I said, okay. So I found out where this address was, down near Templemore Avenue. And I walked in, expecting to see plumbers and plumbers helpers. And this guy came over to me, this little small guy came over to me, and he's got a black peaked cap on, cycle clips, and he says,
You right, Phil?
I said, yeah, come with me. So I walked outside and walked down the street a little bit, and there's a bike sitting there at the railings with a little ladder on it. And I'm going, right. The guy unlocks his bag, he starts walking down the street. The next minute he stops at this lamppost and takes the ladder off the bike and puts it up against the lamp and climbs up, and I'm standing there going, this isn't a plumber's helper. So he starts cleaning the lamp, the inside, and he goes,
I hope you're watching what I'm doing.
I said, oh yeah. So that was that. So carry on, round the corner, down to the next lamp. Right now, I want you to go up. So we put the ladder up, and he gives me this rag, and he says, and when you get up there, I want you to clean the 4 panes inside and out. I said, yeah, okay. So I climb up the ladder, and I've got this rag, which was soaked in paraffin, which he didn't tell me. And there's this tiny little flame that's always there in a glass hand, little tiny flame. So I'm going, and it catches the flame. All of a sudden it turns into sort of charcoal, and it starts floating down, hitting him on his back. And it's cold.
What the bloody hell are you doing up there?
So back and down again. That lasted 10 days. That job, I was turfed out, you know. It was like that all the time, and I was completely lost. I didn't know what to do with myself. I hadn't a clue. I couldn't get a job that I liked. And one day I'm sitting in the parlour, and my aunt comes in and she says, "There's 7 fellas at the door want to speak to you. I hope you're not in trouble." I said, "What? 7 fellas?" "Yeah, I brought them into the parlour." So I go into the parlour and there's 6, 7 guys sitting in the parlour. And they all small talk, and then they say, "You heard Bill?" "Yeah." "We heard you play guitar." I says, "Yeah, I play a bit." "Well, our guitar player's leaving because he has to do exams, and his parents don't want him to go away." I said, "Go away where?" "Oh, we're based in Glasgow." And I went, "What, you mean you're professional?" "Oh yeah." "When do you want me to join?"
Okay, that night and day's over, well and truly over.
So I ended up going to Glasgow with this, probably the worst show band I've ever heard in my life. It was absolutely dire, completely out of tune. Nobody cared. It was just a day off. You didn't work, but you were in Glasgow dossing about. So anyway, they took me to the digs. This was my first day there. I was a new guy, and we stopped at this boarding house, and the woman came out, "Oh, hello boys," in a Scottish accent. "Hi, come on in." So we went in, and we went into the room, and there was 8 bunk beds. And that was it. "That's yours there." The bunk beds, you know. And I'm going, "Oh my God, what's this about?" But it was looking back on it, it was just bizarre, you know. This band was like atrocious. And then it really was.
I hope there's none of you here this evening. It's got much better.
But anyway, we ended up playing Irish ballrooms, cabaret places, you know, things like that. And we backed Joseph Locke one night.
I joined the Legion.
He comes out with his big moustache, chatting up all the chicks and so on, pissed out of his head. And we did 2 gigs, this show band I'm talking about. I don't know how we got them. One of them was doing support to Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas.
Right.
And the other one was Spencer Davis Group. But these were in the 60s. So we'd go on. I don't know how we got away with it, but we went on. There's about 1,000 people at this town hall to see Spencer Davis Group. So we were in the wings watching them. And Stevie Winwood is playing a Stratocaster. And every number he breaks a string. And this roadie comes out, hands on a new Strat, walks in, changes the strings, breaks another string, takes that guitar, hands on that. This went on all night, you know. And his manager was standing beside us, going, "Stevie, he wants to become a serious musician." And I tell him, "No, milk it, try first." No, Stevie wants to become a serious musician. That was it. The other thing.
That was Stevie Winwood.
That was Stevie Winwood, yeah.
Yeah, what age would he have been then?
He's
No age?
about 18. But he had these amazing trousers on. Seriously, and they were called hipsters. And so, look, all this was still new. You know, hipsters were coming out and they were new. People growing their hair was still reasonably new. All this this change was definitely happening, and it wasn't going to go away, you know. That's what it was like.
Incredible stories, Eric. I'm sure we all feel really privileged actually just to hear all these memories.
Well, actually, I should be talking, Harold's going to beat me up.
Yeah.
I should be talking more about the 40s.
The really old days.
The what?
The really old days.
Yeah. And it was just like Walt Disney Productions. It really was. I just looked out that window and the whole street was covered in white. There was nobody about. It was about 10 o'clock at night. And the gas lamps were lit. And the snow was settling on the ground. And it's just, you couldn't describe it, you know, the feeling, the emotion that you had, you know. Absolutely amazing.
Do you think some of that feeling did come through, though, through the music and through the play, and over the years, all of those memories and emotions, really?
No, I think it's all linked.
Yeah.
You know, definitely. You can play. There's a few players here. You can play. If you feel angry, you can play your anger out on a guitar. There's no doubt about it. And you'll mix the emotions, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. A lifetime though of actually realising that you were never meant to be a lamplighter, you were always meant to be a guitar player, and what a legacy and what an incredible career. Do you feel sometimes it's been a crazy dream where you have to pinch yourself, or?
No, it's just been I don't know, weird is the wrong word. Especially when things happen, certain situations and certain moments in time that make all the difference, you know. Like for instance, again, to cut a very long story short, I was living in Dublin with the Dreams show band. They were an excellent show band. Great musicians, great guys, paid you great money, stayed in the best of hotels. And I was in that band for about a year and a half. And then I left because I wanted to form a group. So I went to this club this night with Eric Wrixon. I had to get him in there.
Yeah.
And Eric Wrixon kindly gave me a half tab of LSD that particular night. So I took it, you know, and quite a few drinks and quite a few spliffs. So we were well, and this band came on, but we didn't know there was a band playing that night. I thought it was just records. But this band walks on stage, and we were like, you know, and Phil Lynott is the singer, and he's out the front with this like African robe nearly on. He's doing all these shapes, and Brian Downey's the drummer, and I lock into Brian Downey's drumming, and I go, my God, man, this guy, I gotta get this guy for my group. How am I gonna do it? I don't know. So they took a break, and the guitar player and bass player went up to the bar, and Philip and Brian went into the changing room. So I'm sitting there like, away with the fairies, and what I didn't know about acid was it can wear off, or so you think. And for 20 minutes you're back to normal, and then just you go and you're in a different room, a different universe, and I'm going, right. So I started feeling a bit normal, so I walked up to the changing room door and I rapped it, come in, and Philip and Brian's on this settee drying off towels and so on. Can we help you? So I'm looking at them and I'm going, yeah. And then I'm away again. I start giggling at all these photographs on the wall. And they're looking at me going, you alright? I said, yeah, it's my first trip on acid, you know? And they're going, what? So they sort of changed their attitude towards me. I don't know whether they had taken it at that point in time or not. And they said, what's it like now, Sam? So I said, actually, I'm looking for a bass player and drummer to form a three-piece band with. Can you help me? You know, and do you know anybody? What pub do you drink in? This is Philip. I said, the Bailey. Oh, you don't want to go there. I saw showband people. Go to the Zodiac. So I said, Zodiac, is that where all the groups hang out? Yeah. Okay, thanks very much.
Where was that?
What's that?
Where was the Zodiac? Where is it?
Just off Grafton Street.
Right.
You know where Philip's statue is?
Yeah.
Right beside it.
Right.
That's what we used to call Zodiac. So anyway, I'm walking out the door, and this is what I mean about the moments. I'm walking out the door, and Philip calls me back. And he says to Brian, "Hey Brian, do you fancy forming a group with Eric?" And Brian wasn't into it at all. He said, "No, I think we should stay with the orphanage." So I thought, right, that's it. Start walking out the door again, and Philip calls me back again and says to Brian, "Come on, Brian, let's form a group with Eric." So I'm standing there going, "What? Stay here, stay." So Philip comes over to me and says, "Me and Brian will start a group with you on two conditions. I want to play the bass, and I want to do some of my own songs." So, to cut a long story short again, we got together, and that's how Thin Lizzy started. But that's what I'm talking about, those moments. If Philip hadn't called me back, there would be no Thin Lizzy. That's just the way it is, isn't it?
Well, thank goodness for Thin Lizzy, I'll tell you what, and thank you so much for sharing all these stories. I think we should give them a round of applause.
Now I'll hand you over to Billy Moore.
I tell the truth.
Thanks so much for your patience getting things started tonight, and for your attention listening to all of Eric's stories. I'm sure you're worried about boring people, but I could honestly sit here and listen to your stories all night.
Okay, there's just one.
No. Before we go on, I know there's a few other things that are organised or whatever, so I think we'll have to stop the chat there. But thank you, Eric. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. It's a beautiful area, and I love it. I always will. It's just something special to me, you know.
Up the creek and up the Woodstock. Yeah, I think that deserves another round of applause. Up the creek.
Where's the drink?
Guys, we're just gonna